Welcome to Exploring the Paranormal. Hosted by Heather Lee, PhD, Exploring the Paranormal offers a new, fresh look into paranormal research. Join Heather as she discusses some of the many haunted locations worldwide, discusses why these locations are haunted, hear from paranormal researchers about their personal experiences at these locations. Additionally, Heather takes a journey into the science behind the paranormal, discussing topics such as thermodynamics and the Heisenberg principle and how they both affect paranormal activity. Now, your host of Exploring the Paranormal, Dr. Heather Lee.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a fabulous Tuesday morning. Today, you guys get the luxury of seeing the white wall around my backdrop just because I can't find my camera that has the zoom in it. So you guys kind of get a full behind-the-scenes look, and you realize that my backdrop is not that big. But anyway, welcome to the show. I hope you guys are having a super week so far. Missed you all last week. And as many of you already know, this will be the last show for Exploring the Paranormal on WLTK-DB Talk Radio. But stay tuned. You guys can follow my Facebook page at Dr. Heather Lee or at Exploring the Paranormal Show. I am going to continue the show, but it's going to be more as a when time is available, the show will be live. So make sure you check out that page because I will be posting a whole bunch of different things on there and also events based on when I will be going live. So you can mark your calendars and stay tuned and see all these amazing guests that I do have booked for November, December, and into 2024. So hello, I should put my glasses on. Kaza, thank you for joining us all the way from Scotland. Welcome to the show. But yeah, truly saddened day because it is the last show, but I do have an amazing guest coming on. Those of you who don't know him, but Jeff Mudgett, he is the great-grandson of H.H. Holmes, and amazing guy. Love him to death. He has some amazing stories, and he did tell me that he has some information that he is actually revealing for the first time on this show. He has done extensive investigations into H.H. Holmes, including, if you've guys seen on, I think it's History Channel or A&E, but it's on Max, American Ripper. It's about his investigations and his theory behind how Jack the Ripper could have been H.H. Holmes. Interesting story. I'll let him talk about that more. And I'm wondering if some of the information that he has found is helping him link further to Jack the Ripper, or maybe it's disproving that. We're not sure, but we will just have to wait and see. So until then, feel free to ask me any questions. He should be joining us around 10:30-ish, but ask me any questions. I'm here and happy to answer them. And you guys know that you could also reach out to me if you have questions after the show at heather.lee73@gmail.com or on my website, heatherleephd.com. There I have a blog that posts 1 to 2 blog posts a day. Lots of information, everything from upcoming tours, different tours in different cities. I actually started delving into paranormal travel articles. So there are a lot on there, but there's a lot of information on how to become a paranormal investigator, tips and tricks, what to do, what not to do, theories behind haunted objects, and a whole bunch more. And I'm planning on continuing that blog. It's actually pre-scheduled, so I won't miss a day, and you guys will actually have something new every day to check on that website. Plus, on the same website, I have all of the books that I have coming out. If you guys are new to the show, I currently have 3 books out. Haunted Southern Nevada Ghost Towns, which is based off of the motion picture video documentary Real Haunts Ghost Towns and Real Haunts 3, which we were in. We did all of our research for those documentaries, and I put them all into one book, and the History Press loved it, and they published it, followed by Ghosts and Legends of the Vegas Valley, which includes a ton of mob stuff. And I talked recently on a show that I really wish I had a couple more weeks before the deadline, because I had submitted the book And we had talked about a mobster at Circus who went missing back in the 60s. And just after the book was set and ready to publish, they found his body in Lake Mead as the waters receded. So it would have been nice to have had that connection in the book, but that's a little interesting tidbit that I share when I do interviews and stuff like that. And then the newest book, or no, then you have Haunted Florida Lighthouses. That is the newest book. It came out Monday. So not yesterday, but the Monday before. Absolutely. It was actually a big hit at the recent convention. I was in Phantasm, which I will talk about in a little bit. That was an amazing convention here in Orlando. Had a lot of fun, met some amazing people there. And also got word last week that Haunted Florida Lighthouses will be turned into a children's book. So stay tuned for that. They said it was going to be for ages 8 to 13. And it's going to have lots of illustrations, fun stories based off of my book. And I'm looking forward to see how they do that. Other things that I've done, Haunted Florida Ghost Towns is off to the publisher, waiting to get edited. And then I'm currently working on Haunted Florida Roadside Attractions and Ghosts and Legends of the Florida Pirates, which I have been told both of the two newer books, not the Ghost Town book, but the Roadside Attractions and the Pirate one will be also turned into children's books as well. So lots of exciting things happening. If you haven't had a chance yet, I am hosting 2 classes with Truckee Meadows Community College, TMCC. It is online. It's based out of Reno, but it is online. If you Google search TMCC Epic Paranormal, you will be able to find all the different classes, or you could even research TMCC and then Heather Lee, and that will come up with the classes that I'm teaching on Monday, this upcoming Monday, from 6 to 9 p.m. Pacific, 9 to midnight Eastern. I am hosting the ABCs of Paranormal Research, and that is going to include almost like I'm going to walk you guys through a paranormal dictionary. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of anywhere from 5 to 20 terms per letter, and then I'm going to talk about in depth anywhere from 2 to 5 terms for each letter in detail with their own. It's a slideshow, so with their own slide, and then we'll also have a Q&A at the end. But throughout the different terms, I'm going to talk about tips and tricks based on the terms and some stories. So like we have some Area 51 is listed in there. Disembodied voices, demonic entities. And through along the way, I'm going to share different stories associated with each of the terms. So it's not going to just be me reading the dictionary and saying, hey, this is, an apparition. This is an apport. This is, it's going to be very, very thorough, very fun, and very engaging. And it's going to be, you guys throughout the whole class can ask questions. It's not a form. That one's not going to be a formal class because I just want to have fun and I want to have people talk back and forth with me on that one. And then 2 weeks later in October, I am hosting Ghost Hunting 101 for TMCC as well. And this one I'm still working on putting together, but it's turning out to be amazing. It starts off with, what is ghost hunting, how to become a ghost hunter, the investigation process, the different types of entities. We're going to talk about the different tools that you use, protection methods. I'm going to share some evidence that I have, as well as drawing a blank on everything. Like I said, protection. Research resources that you guys can go to. Like for me, I use the New York Public Library a lot, Library of Congress. I want to say newspapers.com, but that's not it. I'll have to look it up. And just a whole bunch of different resources that you can use for the paranormal, including I know it's funny. I have the Weather Channel listed because, of course, you want to know the weather. So it's going to include everything there, paranormal paperwork, and recommended readings. So we'll have all of that in that class. And I'm looking at it, and it might even be longer than 3 hours for that one. But that is going to be a fun, interesting class. And, of course, I do like to keep them a little bit interactive. So we'll go section by section to see if anyone has any questions. And it'll be also, like I said, interactive and a lot of fun. So I'm truly, truly looking forward to that. But yeah, if you guys are here, say hi. I would love to hear from you. With this being my last show on WLTK-DB Talk Radio, would just definitely love to know you guys are here. And you know what? Let's just have some fun. Share with me what your favorite thing about, it could be my show, it could be anyone's show, about watching shows on WLTK. Let's not pit all the show host together, but just kind of share, you don't need to share your favorite host, but kind of just share your favorite thing about watching. I know a lot of people come to me and say that they love my Tuesday show because I had one person joke around this weekend that they love to hear me ramble on in the mornings because I just shoot from the hip and talk away, and they love that natural flow and the not being so rigid. And other people have mentioned that they just love the friendliness of the hosts when they come onto the different shows. So let us know what you love about the station, and definitely please let me know you're here because I'm gonna miss you all. And yeah, it's a sad time, but on to bigger and better things, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. And talking about the future, I have a lot of different research that I am working on. One new announcement: she has been on the show. She was supposed to be on the show in October, but we're going to actually just pre-record it and put it up on YouTube. But Philomena Thomas, she worked with the Hatman Project, and she also owns Project Umpra, which does research into the Hatman as well. Her and I have partnered up with each other. Super excited. We are doing extensive research into the Hatman, including we're trying to get 1,000 surveys completed. So if you have encounters with the Hatman, please let me know. I will send you reach out to me on Facebook, and I will send you the link to fill out the survey. You can fill out the survey and let us know who you are, or you can go completely anonymous. We're leaving it up to you. Because what our plans is with the survey is we are going to take all the data, and we're also going to interview people who are willing to be interviewed on video camera for our database. And that's why she brought me on board, because she wants me to scientifically analyze the different data, create maps, because what we're noticing is several things. We're noticing that a lot of the Hatman sightings are occurring where missing 411 cases are at, or missing children. A lot of the Hatman sightings are occurring on ley lines. So, a whole bunch of different things. So we're going to be mapping out a whole bunch of stuff and doing tons of stuff. And who knows, I have connections with different people, and we're working on making documentaries out of it and doing just a whole bunch of interesting things. And in addition to the Hatman survey, we are doing a non-Hatman survey kind of as a control group. So if you've had paranormal experiences, please let us know. I will send you that survey's not done yet, but I'll put you on the email list for that survey. And once that survey's done, we want to find out, different things with your experiences, kind of, and compare, are they similar to the Hatman or are they completely different? Because the one thing that we are noticing is Hatman encounters are increasingly occurring in children, as well as people who are Rh negative in their blood. So it's kind of interesting. And these surveys do get personal, but like I said, you can be completely anonymous if you do. But we're doing that just kind of, my curiosity is I want to see if the Hatman sightings are connected to even chronic illnesses. So like people who have, liver disease, kidney disease, and stuff like that. We're trying to see if there is some type of connection between various medical conditions and Hatman and paranormal sightings. So stay tuned. That is going to be an extremely fun. I love the newbie Debbie Romero's energy. Yes, she is just very uplifting. I caught one of her shows, if I remember. I'm not sure which one it was, but I was scrolling through Facebook real quick, looking for something, and it was just, you could feel the energy pop off the screen. It was amazing. Definitely. Thank you for commenting with that. That's good to know. And I'm sure Todd will make sure that she finds out. But yeah, so with the Hatman Project, stay tuned. So many exciting things. And the other thing that I'm trying to do is actually, the one thing people notice with the Hatman is he doesn't come on command. Granted, spirits and ghosts don't come on command, but you could go to a location, and if it's known to be haunted by spirit X, Y, and Z, you have a good chance of getting haunted, catching evidence, or at least encountering or having experience with that spirit. However, with the Hatman, he is all over the place. He's occurred, tons of different places. Every country of the world has a story of the Hatman, which is an interesting thing. One of the questions on the survey says, what type of hat is your Hatman wearing? Because like in Mexico and the Southwest, he's wearing a sombrero. There have been some where he's wearing a cowboy hat, the fedora, the top hat. And it all depends on, country cultures. So that's kind of one of those things where it's like, Are we self-manifesting the Hat Man to our cultures, or is he knowledgeable enough to where he can adapt to look like what that culture is? So it's kind of lots of interesting information on that. But because we can't just walk into a building, because he doesn't really haunt any particular building all the time, we're trying to find public locations where he is at to do investigations and see if we can draw him out. And I know one place here, there's two places here, Fort Dade down in the Tampa area. That one has had sightings of the Hat Man among the ruins inside where the artillery used to be held. And then Fort Jefferson, where Dr. Mudd was once held. And that place was plagued with the yellow fever. There are 2 reports of people seeing a Hat Man, a guy with the tall top hat, trench coat, standing at the end of the jail cells while they were, and then they also reported seeing a portal. So that's our other theory that we're working on, is does he get around using a portal? And I actually met someone this weekend. I'm not going to share that information yet because we're waiting to finish analyzing her data. But she did share a similar experience where she saw the Hat Man and then saw what she believed to be a portal as well. So tons and tons of information there. Oh my goodness, that is probably going to keep me busy for years. But you know, I like to keep busy, stay out of trouble, and have lots of fun, because that's the other thing too that I emphasize is you got to have fun in this field. I'm not talking about goofing off on an investigation or joking around or stuff like that, because this is a serious field. But because it's so serious and we deal with the dead every day, it's kind of like we got to blow off some steam and laugh and have fun. So, you know, with that, you know, we went to the convention Phantasm in Orlando, had a blast, talking with a whole bunch of different people. There were other paranormal investigators there, as well as, of course, you had all the horror celebrities. My son loved it. He got to meet Nick Benson. He, Tremors. He was the FX guy for Tremors, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. So he was like so excited. He actually bought a Tremors DVD set on site. One of the guys was selling them, and then he had Nick sign it and he got his photo taken with him. So he had a blast. But then the other fun thing about this event is they also had it was called Cool Zoo, and it's from Central Florida. And they actually brought a mini zoo into it. So there was a crocodile, they had snakes. My son, we have a video of him with a monkey. They had a little, I want to say capuchin monkey, but I don't think that was the species of it, but just one of those little monkeys crawling all over him. And he just had fun with that. So yeah. And the other thing too that this convention does is it was a film festival for new horror movies. And they, you know, had competitions, costume, you know, cosplay competitions. And it was just a lot of fun. I mean, there wasn't a moment where you didn't see someone. One of the most popular people walking around was Michael Myers, you know, a guy dressed up as Michael Myers. Every time he turned around, there was one of them walking around. The Ghostbusters were there, Central Florida Ghostbusters. They actually have an Ecto 1, and then they had little Ecto 2s that they were running around. But they come in full gear, dressed up, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and a whole bunch of lot of fun. I actually met them last year, and I'm still friends with them. And I was looking forward to seeing them this year. It was a lot of fun. They actually, the fun thing they did is a scavenger hunt where they were giving away prizes, and they had sheets and they went around to the different, you know, they had to go to the different vendors to see who had what sign. And my booth, of course, had the ghost librarian. And when they came to my booth, I stamped it, and there was this cute little kid who came running around. He kept passing me because he couldn't see the sign. It was the cutest little thing. But yeah, so things like that at these conventions, that's when you can blow off steam, have fun, laugh, joke, you know, and get to know others. I mean, there's nothing better than networking in this field and having, you know, get to know other investigators. The more people you get to know, the more you can learn. And I know I learned something every day from listening to different people. I had people in my audience. I did 7 panels outside of the 2 Q&As. Ooh, excuse me. And we had several people ask questions, and even I wrote down some different things because they had theories, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to have to work on those. I do know my presentations. I am in the process of updating them because I found some things wrong with them or things I wanted to add. But once I get them all updated, I will record them because I didn't really record the greatest video of my doing the presentations because I just wanted to have some video so that way I could go back and critique my my talking and all of that. And my son wanted to critique his own because he participated as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually record them and post them to my YouTube page. So those of you who were not at the convention can still see them. So if you don't, my Facebook or my YouTube channel is Heather Lee PhD or at Heather Lee PhD. And so in the next couple weeks, because Thursday I'm going to my parents, and then next week I am actually starting a job. So hopefully before October 31st, you can expect to see videos on the history of witches, herbal magic, and the paranormal. Joe and I did Ouija or not Ouija. So we're going to probably do one, record that together. If not, I'll do one on my own. Haunted Florida lighthouses, horror story origins, where we talked about the origins of horror stories. And my theory is every story, even a book, had to come from some type of inspiration. And could Dracula have been real? Basically, it's the haunted history of vampires and present day and modern day vampires. And that was actually a fun one to do. There were a lot of people in that panel. I talked about the scientific proof behind how vampires could have existed, why people thought vampires were there. And then we also dove into archaeological excavations of cemeteries that actually, excuse me, showed proof that vampires were believed to have existed because they had everything from bricks in the mouth, sickles over the throat, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to do that panel presentation. And that's where a lot of people handed me a lot of questions. And, we had a whole bunch of different theories. And of course, in that one too, we also talked about the first vampire book from 1917, Carmilla, and Dracula as well. So lots of interesting information in that. As far as upcoming events, I don't have any booked right now, but I am diving in headfirst. I realized this weekend I need to get off my butt and take proactive action. For the most part, I just kind of sat back and waited for the different conventions to reach out to me in case they needed somebody. But I'm going to take proactive measures and start seeing what we can do and get out there so that way I can come meet you all. I know Ghost Education 101. We have been asked several times if Philip and I are ever going to go on tour. So hopefully we can make that happen next year. I know Joe and I are working with it's a new travel company that is going to be starting up in January to do almost like retreat weekends and paranormal guided tours. So I know one thing that we're looking into doing is St. Augustine, where everybody arrives Friday. We do a VIP dinner. Saturday during the day is spent learning from Joe and I. Saturday night is the investigation. And then Sunday morning is a brunch where we can all talk about our experiences, and then everybody goes home. So we're looking into doing stuff like that, as well as I know I'm in the process right now of helping the company get information on actually starting off in St. Petersburg. And then taking a boat from St. Petersburg to Fort Jefferson, and then from Fort Jefferson over to Key West, and then exploring Key West, and then coming back to St. Petersburg. So that is going to be a week-long tour. And if I'm correct, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's doing it to where everything is included, including like breakfast and dinner, because breakfast and dinner will be planned with wherever we're staying. And so then the only thing people would be responsible for would be their lunch and any souvenirs that they pick up along the way. So we're looking into that and just trying to think of everything else that, geez, we've been talking about a lot of stuff lately and working on making things happen. I know I'll be talking with, it doesn't help you guys, but unless you're local here in Florida, doing book signing tours. I was asked to go up to Jacksonville for a book signing tour, but it just didn't fit into the schedule. So we're kind of postponing that and seeing what happens. Hold on. So we're postponing that, but I am going to be doing local book signings here in Lakeland, heading over to Vero Beach and doing different things on the East Coast. And I know I'm currently in the process of getting more information. I have someone looking into it for me, but I'm not sure if it's going to work out yet or not. But in February, I may also be appearing with Joe Frankie at MegaCon, so up here in Orlando as well. And so we will see that as well. Good morning, Kenneth. How are you doing? It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. And so, yeah, so I think I've caught you guys all up on everything that is happening on my end. You know, as always, busy, busy, busy. Oh, good morning, Mike. I probably should just leave my glasses on so I could see you guys. Thank you for joining, Mike. I do need to talk to you. I have actually, I have both you, Kenneth, on my list to reach out to. So stay tuned in the next couple days. I'll send a message unless you guys get proactive and message me first. But I do need to talk to both of you. So yes, busy as always, you know, and that's good for you because, you know, you're like me. It keeps you out of trouble. So that's a good thing. Okay, and I'm just checking everything. Oh, great. That's awesome that you're good, Mike. So with that being said, our guest is not here yet, but I need to get something to drink because I have a tickle in my throat. And so we are going to take a quick commercial break and hopefully our guest is here. If not, you guys have some more time of listening to me babble. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Looking for a unique paranormal experience? The Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is just the event you're looking for. You will have the opportunity to investigate the Haunted Rock Island YMCA with ACG Paranormal. Visit with over 60 paranormal and metaphysical vendors from 8 or more states. And pre-order your t-shirts at dvinar@aol.com. Visit a psychic gallery reading, mediums, tea leaf reading, animal communication, dream interpretation, aura reading, tarot and oracle card readings, or get a Reiki healing. See a demonstration of the Estes method by Carly Bird. Presentations by Nick Simons and Aaron G. Thompson of 28 Days Haunted, Greg Bakken from Ghostbox Radio, and headliner Rick Hayes, along with many folks you'll see on Paraflix. Be sure to like and follow our sponsors: Paraflix, WLTK-DB Talk Radio LLC, Studio 6 Productions, Unturned Pages, and Ocean Eye Crystals. General admission is only $5 and all proceeds go directly to the Haunted Rock Island YMCA. For more information on the Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon and vendors, look for them on Facebook under Events.
Good morning and welcome back, everyone. And no, Kenneth, it's not an Irish coffee. I could use one of those, but it's not an Irish coffee yet. It's just actually iced coffee. So yeah, something to keep me going. Because I woke up early this morning. It was a little, early for me. It was a little after 7, and I just couldn't fall back asleep. So I think I've gone through a whole pot already by the time I've finished this cup. So yeah, it's been a interesting morning. But yeah, we are still waiting for our guest. I'm hoping he shows. If he doesn't, I will do a recording with him later on, just because I had sent him an email reminding him like he had told me to yesterday, and I didn't get a reply back, but he's, that's okay. He's just looking forward to talking. So hopefully I can chat with him and get that information out that he wanted to share with everyone. But yeah, so welcome back to the show. Until he arrives, I'm going to keep an eye. I know Todd said he'll let me know when he arrives, but he's not here yet. I do want to just kind of go over, I figured since I brought it up and it was one of the favorite presentations that I had this past weekend, I'm going to briefly talk about the Dracula presentation I did, just because this is such a fun one. And it really wasn't Dracula themed. It just started off as a Dracula one, but more research I did, it completely turned into a whole bunch of different directions. So it was vampires through the ages. and it is a journey from myth to reality. And that was what was the fun part, is because so many people do believe that vampires are real. There is actually a lot of research going on about that. And then you also have the lifestyle vampires who actually live every day as a vampire. And that's always, I found that very interesting. And there are people who are researching tons and tons of things. And that's what I started to do. So, of course, I started off with Bram Stoker. He wrote Dracula in 1897, and he based it off of Vlad the Impaler. And Vlad was, you guys know, or most of you should know, 15th century warlord, medieval prince. He was actually the governor of Romania and lived in Transylvania. He was known to drink the blood of his victims, cut his victims' heads off, and put them on a stake out front of his house or his castle. He was also known to bathe in the blood as a way to stay young and stay powerful. So he did all of those different things. And then Dracula and Malachian means devil. So in this book, what I found interesting, it was based on real people and incidents of the time when he wrote this in 1897. And he never meant Dracula to be a work of fiction. It was meant to serve as a warning to be wary of people in the community, because you just don't know who or what you'll encounter. And then Carmilla. Carmilla was actually, I have my notes on, actually, I don't have the screen up, so I don't even know why I'm telling you why to ignore the notes at the bottom. But anyway, Sheridan Le Fanu wrote Carmilla in 1872. This book was believed to inspire Dracula, but there are a lot of people who said it really doesn't. She was more than 150 years old, and it was an interesting story. It was more about, kind of like sexual maturity and coming of age type of story. So it was kind of an interesting story. I haven't read it yet. I just know this was actually my son's section, which is why I don't know too much about that particular section. But if you haven't heard of Carmilla, you can, there's a whole bunch of videos on YouTube that talk about it, including different theories, how it might have inspired it. But then there was also Vampire, Vampyre, and that was written in 1817. So that is the first recollection of it, even though the first written report of the term vampire, which is believed to be a mythical creature, was in the early 1700s. This is believed to be the undead. Several people believe that vampires came about because witches would put curses on the dead in cemeteries, and they would rise from their graves and then start feeding on the blood and energy of the living. You have your typical identification of them, your pale skin. They don't sparkle like they do in Twilight. They're extremely attractive, which is a new thing. The extremely attractive didn't come until the 1900s. But when we were talking in the panel discussion about this, is that what we see as attractive today might be different than what they saw in the 17 and 1800s. So if you think about it, even with Dracula, the bushy eyebrows and a whole bunch of different things, that could have been attractive for that day. But in terms of today, it's believed that they weren't really attractive until the 1900s. Your typical stereotypical fangs, they sleep in coffins, can't see their reflection, and they only appear at night. Stories just flooded Eastern Europe, and prevention was garlic. We'll be talking about that later, why people thought garlic was a prevention. Crosses, because they were undead and they believed them to be demonic. They believed that their religious views would protect them. And burying the corpse upside down. This was because if the corpse were to come alive, it would dig towards the head, thinking the head was up, and it would just continue digging deeper into the earth. And also killing by a stake through the heart or decapitation. And several people, a majority of the people, this was almost, I kind of equate this, and I'm going to be doing more research into it because we talked about it extensively during this discussion, is the vampire fear and the vampire craze was similar to the Salem witch trials. You had the generational fears, and superstition. So stories passed down from parent to child and grandparents, the grandchild, talking about different fears and stuff like that. Don't go into the woods because there's a witch out there. Or don't go into the woods because the vampire will get you. Don't go out when the sun sets. Diseases, porphyria and rabies were, I'll talk more in detail about that in just a minute, but those were showed symptoms of what people believed vampires to do. Lack of education. People just didn't know. I mean, we didn't know back then what these different diseases do, what they did, what their symptoms were, and that it was disease related and not, they just, medical advancements weren't quite there yet. And then, of course, fearful delusions similar to the Salem witch trials. And the diseases that I talked about thought to be vampirism, blood disorders. Of course, you have porphyria, which is the vampire disease. And that one is the most common one. But then you have, there's another one, I cannot pronounce it. I can share it on my page if you want, but it's known as Gunther's disease. And that one develops in childhood. Both of these diseases affect how white blood cells create extreme anemia, iron deficiencies. I met someone who actually, their son has Gunther's disease. I'm not sure which one it is, but Ozzy Osbourne's daughter is known to have one of these. I remember seeing her in a show a while back talking about it and how she only has so many minutes out in the sun before she starts to burn really bad. And because of the blood disorders, they're sensitive to garlic in the aspect of the garlic will drop their blood pressure and they'll pass out. So that's why a lot of people think garlic will fight off vampires. Of course, sunlight allergies, dental issues. If you ever Google search, I did it and it totally, I don't want to say it creeped me out, but it totally shocked me because I didn't expect to see what I saw. But it caused dental issues to where their jawbones would recede. They would have extreme gum disease problems, and they would start losing their teeth, especially the front teeth. So not only did they have, for the ones that developed it in childhood, they would have larger than normal incisors, they would also lose their front teeth. So it looked like they actually had fangs. Chronic weakness, dementia, hallucinations, and paranoia. And these are all things that people believed when they started acting out on these things would be related to a vampire. And then also rabies. Humans can get rabies. They did believe that animals could be vampires as well. Rabies caused insomnia, which, if you don't sleep at night, people thought you were a vampire. Biting and aggression, all characteristics that people put on different vampire traits and everything. So, okay. And Mercy Brown, I'm going to have to share this photo on my page because she is an interesting person. She was a real person in Rhode Island. She died in the late 1800s from tuberculosis. And I think it says, I'm looking at her tombstone right now, January 12th, 1890 or 1899. She was only 19 years old. And they blamed her death on the undead. Rumors spread through town that, because they didn't know what tuberculosis was, so rumors spread through town that she had been bitten by a vampire and that she herself was turning into a vampire, and that's why she got sick. So they exhumed her body, and it showed no signs of decay. Immediately, they freaked out and thought she was a vampire. But what they didn't know, and this goes with the lack of education for that time period, is she was buried in an above-ground vault in the dead of winter. So essentially, her body was frozen. Her brother was starting to experience the same symptoms, so they ended up cutting out her heart, burning it, and then they fed him the ashes, hoping that the ashes of a dead vampire would help prevent another person from falling victim to it. But unfortunately, he ended up dying a few weeks later. Yes. New Orleans is actually one of the places with the highest concentration of current day vampires, and also where they believe a lot of the vampires started in the U.S. They came to New Orleans, and then also Atlanta is another city where there's a lot of vampires as well. And I talked a little bit earlier about vampire burials. If they cemeteries are being exhumed or excavated throughout Eastern Europe, including one in Poland. And they found several people buried with a sickle over their throat, which was believed if the vampire came alive and they sat up, it would cut their head off and then no more vampire. They would put bricks in the mouth. They would rip out their teeth. There were several people that they found that had their throats cut open and bricks and rocks shoved in the throats. They're cages over graves, even though there are other reasons why you'll see a cage over a grave, but there are several that believe that it was because of that. Metal or a wood stake through the chest. And then they would put shrouds of cloth over their face in the hopes that either A, the vampire won't look at them and influence them with their looks, and B, that they won't bite them because they'd have to bite through the cheese or the cloth. They found children as young as 10 years old who were believed to have died of malaria, buried in this way, which is kind of sad. And it's fear like this is common during troubled times. And again, they did all these things, even for people that they didn't believe were vampires, to help protect them, like the cages over the grave, to protect them from the witches coming and transforming their loved ones into vampires. So are vampires real? I think it's on History Channel, but it's American Vampire Hunter or Vampire Hunters. I'm not sure. It's also on Max too. But there was a really interesting show where it talked about how generations of vampire hunters actually go out and how they do it. But the Ancient Society of Vampire Hunters is a real organization. They believe that there are real human vampires, that there are true vampires in the essence of what you see in the stories, and then lifestylers. The vampires, even the real life, the human ones and the lifestylers, they will drink blood, and they will also, the life force or energy is what they'll use. They truly believe that drinking blood will help boost their energy levels. And in the research I've done, I've seen a lot of people who follow this lifestyle. They talk about that their medical conditions, they're anemic, they have blood disorders themselves, and they just feel that having, kind of like a blood transfusion, it gives you the energy and helps boost your immune system and everything. These things are done in private and intimate settings. They have willing donors. If they, drinking the blood is two ways. They either get it from a blood bank and drink it, or they have a willing donor. And if there's a willing donor, there are tons of legal forms that are signed. The donor and the vampire go through extensive medical checks and clearances to make sure neither one of them have diseases or anything like that. And then it's also a medical professional is on staff to help. They don't bite the skin. They use a scalpel to cut a little slit, and then they monitor the process to make sure that the person does not take too much and that the willing donor is not harmed. So that's a current lifestyle that is going on right now. Thousands upon thousands are in the United States. Many remain in hiding because they don't want others to know what they do. And then several live and work among us, and we don't even know they're there. Modern day vampire research, this I talked about a little bit, is a lot of fun. There are several reasons why vampire research is being done. Well, aliens have been confirmed by the government. I don't see it. That's the next step. That's the next step, is confirming that vampires are real. I truly believe they are. It's just a matter of finding. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I believe they are. It's just a matter of finding that lineage and that evidence. But modern day research includes checking the historical, like most of this presentation is, researching literature, social impacts. What kind of impacts does vampire lifestyles have on society and on their social circle? Medical impacts. Why is it done? And also, how can it impact those that are the willing participants? Psychological. Is there psychological reasons why people do this, or does doing this have psychological effects? And then there are some scientists out there that are going, all in their firsthand lifestyle to experience it, document, and figure out what this lifestyle is like. And then, of course, you have people like me who want to research the possibilities of vampires being real. Today, there are more than 5,000 in the United States. Most living in Atlanta and New Orleans, And I know there are several. I saw a report Los Angeles has a high number of them too, but Los Angeles didn't. The reports that I saw, most of them said that they don't actually drink the blood. I did not include them in the presentation, but and then I think Boston was another one where they are commonly found at. There's 3 types. One is the ones that live off blood. Then you have the psychic energy vampires, and then a hybrid. The psychic energy ones are the ones that, you'll hear they're an energy vampire all the time. And these are the ones that have developed their psychic abilities to pull energy from other people. They drain so if you ever feel drained around another person, you could be near an energy vampire, and whether they're doing it on purpose or completely on accident, you don't know. And then a hybrid does a little bit of both. And then, like I had mentioned, the blood drinking was willing donors, blood banks, or animals is where they get their blood from. Okay, and then to finish that, I had books and movies featuring vampires. The Vampire, there we go, is by John Polidori in 1819, and then Carmilla was in 1872, and then Dracula in 1897. Tons of different movies. My favorite ones are The Satanic Rites of Dracula from 1973, Nosferatu in 1979, and then, of course, Francis Ford Coppola's 1992 Dracula version. One thing that I thought was interesting, and it's a shame, but Dracula's death. It was a silent movie from 1921. It is believed to be the first movie that ever came out, and that film footage has forever been lost and nowhere to be found. So hopefully one day they can find that in someone's basement and be able to do that. But yeah, so hopefully. Rumored to inhabit the tunnels that lie beneath San Francisco's affluent yet not uphill. Yes, vampires are said to enter and leave the tunnels via secret entryways hidden with the homes and businesses that reside there. Yeah. Yep, I've heard that too, and that's Atlanta has that as well. So it's just interesting. And I know what I'm also researching a little bit more into is it's funny because we had talked about it last night. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. I was on Lee Warner's show last night, and we talked about that briefly before we got sidetracked into the paranormal. But it's interesting how a lot of historic vampire stories are tied to the Civil War era. And it's very, very interesting how that's coming along, which I'm another project that I completely forgot about, but I don't want to give too much away until I know for sure. I'm in the process of working with a publisher to release a historical fiction book about a historic event here in the United States, transformed into a vampire werewolf book. So keep those fingers crossed that comes true. I enjoyed that movie. And yeah, yes. And the book too, that I like the book a lot better, even though the movie is closely based on really closely based on the book, follows the book very closely. The book has photos. They actually took photos from Lincoln's era and manipulated them just enough to where they still look real. And it looks like it could be vampire tales. Like there was one photo that they had where Abraham Lincoln was talking with General Lee, and they were in a tent on the battlefield, and they imaged his axe that he used for killing the vampires. And then the caption was, Lincoln and his axe that he used. They had skulls that they made the teeth look like vampire teeth. And, people standing outside of a shop, they would put the little black glasses on them to make them look like they were, the vampires from the movies. So a lot of interesting things. But one thing that I forgot to talk about last night when I was talking with Lee is it was interesting at the end of the book, and it would be neat if it was true, because at the end of the book, they had hinted towards the fact that when Lincoln was shot, he was actually saved by his vampire friend. And they showed an image of the two of them standing outside of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. So it's interesting. There was a little section that they could have continued with the movie, but they kind of stopped it. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting in the book. But yeah, I love the book, love the movie. Seth Grahame-Smith does an amazing job anyway, and they had all the perfect actors in that movie, and made it real interesting. Would love to see a sequel on that, to what Abraham Lincoln's life would have been like if he had been turned into a vampire. I think that would have been really, really interesting. But anyway, I'm sorry, guys. Unfortunately, Jeff might be busy and might not have seen my message. But I will reach out to him again and try to get him on the show, whether we record it or we just air it on my Facebook page. But yeah, like I said, I'm truly sorry, guys. But things happen. We all know that. Hope you guys didn't mind listening to me babble, but unfortunately, I really didn't have enough show prep today because I was hoping he'd be here. So I'm going to have to say goodbye. Like I had said, this is the last show Exploring the Paranormal we'll have on WLTK-DB Talk Radio. Make sure you follow my Facebook page at Exploring the Paranormal Show. I will be giving updates on when and where you can catch future shows. And thank you, Kenneth. Great to hear. Definitely, I'm going to keep this up. I'm not giving it up, but I'm just in the process of trying some new platforms and figuring some things out. So again, thank you everyone for watching the show. Truly appreciate it. And thank you, Todd, for everything you have done for me as a show host. And hopefully we can all work together again in the future. You guys have a fantastic week. Stay spooky and stay in touch.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.